Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Harrisburg City Council Legislative Session, Wednesday, June 14, 2017. I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:05 p.m. Ms. Houston, please do the roll call.
Mr. Allett?
Present.
Mr. Baltimore?
Here.
Ms. Daniels?
Here.
Ms. Hodges?
Present.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Majors?
Here.
Ms. Williams?
Present. Moving on to invocation, Councilmember Johnson.
Can everyone bow their heads, please? I would like to take a moment of silence for some particular lives that we have lost within the past couple of days and weeks. First to Marcy Anderson. He was an 8-year-old young aspiring kid who lost his life in the river. Please keep your prayers and condolences with that family. Also, Dawn Her. She was also recently found in the river, and we would like to keep her family in prayers as well. And two other names I want to mention in correlation to the State Street Bridge. Donald Welsh, he was in a bicycle accident on the State Street Bridge, so please keep their families in prayers, as well as, I may say this wrong, Ivea Griffin. She was also hit along the State Street Bridge. Can keep her families in prayers. And the last one, to Julian Juju Mallory. He was actually one of my teen achievers through the Camp Curtin YMCA program, a young aspiring kid who had a very, very bright future, who was brought to end by a tragic ending. So please, please, please keep his mother and families and friends in prayers. And as everyone goes through tough times like this, please remember it's important to support one another and love one another in the city. And even though we may not be related by blood, you know, we are all still family. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the Pledge of Allegiance, Councilman Majors.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening, everyone. I see Mr. Ford brought out the troop today. So where's he at? I don't see it. Where's he at? Okay. So are we having one person speak, or are we having several individuals speak?
I'll get the ball rolling.
Well, no, you don't have to get the ball rolling right now, because we're going to do communications first. I just seen everybody come to this evening, and I just want to say hello and want to know if everybody's speaking, because if they are, I'm going to have to do, Mr. Lawson, what are you standing up already for? I didn't call communication. You just need to sit down. Come on, sit down, have a seat. You're not the president anymore. That's my title.
All right.
Okay. But anyway, yeah, he does. But anyway, it's good to see everybody here this evening. I just want to let you know, Mr. Ford and everybody that's present, that we are not voting on anything under CDG tonight. We had just got that information today, so we are going to have a committee meeting, so come back then and give us your opinion or issue on that topic. But I'll still listen to anything you have to say tonight. We'll still give you a couple minutes to talk. I'm going to keep it at 2 minutes since there's a variety of people here. We're moving on to communications. This evening I have Fashawn Ramsey from 13 Love. He's going to come to the front. Mr. Ramsey? And you may sit down, Mr. Ramsey, because I'll give you a couple minutes. I know you wanted to do a presentation real quick. And we all have a copy of your brochures.
Yes, ma'am.
You want to turn the mic on, please?
Hello? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
How's everybody doing today?
We're fine.
My name is Mr. Ramsey. I am CEO of 13 Love Universal Program. It's a nonprofit organization that I founded in summer 2015 in Hunts Point, New York. This is south part of the Bronx. I started off in 2015, started doing some basketball activities, which turned into a tournament, which spread it out to Harlem and Queens. We went against multiple schools and teams. To make a long story short, in 2016, January, I moved back to my hometown. I moved here when I was 2 years old. I was raised in Atlanta, Georgia. So before I came back here, I stayed in the Bronx and I stayed in Brooklyn. When I arrived here to Harrisburg, I partnership with some good community leaders. I got to knowing certain organizations in politics, knowing who's who. So I ran into some good friends and everything. But make a long story short, I ran a mentoring program this past school year where I mentor over 60 young men at Ben Franklin and Downey Elementary School, which is part of the Harrisburg School District. It was a very, very good mentoring program during school hours. That's not including the after-school yoga classes that we also have implemented. So for next school year, for the Harrisburg School District, we're definitely working on some more activities and solutions to give the children. All right, so for this summer, we will be having our Tai Chi summer takeoff, which was supposed to start January the 19th, but that will be delayed 1 week. So we will be starting January the 26th. We will be located at all of the low-income neighborhoods in Harrisburg. That includes every one of them. Our classes will be ranging from 50 to 100 students per class. We have a total of 5 classes. One is located at Emerald, the other is located at Hillside and Hall Manor. And the low-income project next to Hall Manor, I just can't remember the name of it at the time, but we do have a couple Tai Chi classes that's going to take off. If you are not aware of Tai Chi, Tai Chi is a highly advanced form of karate. It was actually practiced by the Egyptians. It has been very beneficial to the kids on a mental, spiritual, and physical level. I've seen kids become more interactive and social after trying Tai Chi and exercises. I also contacted a temple called Shaolin Temple in China because I was with my mentoring program at Ben Franklin. I was showing on a video of the children in China at the Shaolin Temple, and one of the kids was like, I could beat them. And then the girl was like, I could beat them 100%. And somebody said, I could beat them 1,000%. I said, okay, that's what you want to do. Summer 2018 is on. So we have a year to get ready, and I did make that phone call, and they took the competition. So now we just have to arrange our kids and get them in order and move forward as a city, because it's going to be big. We're going against Shaolin Temple, one of the biggest karate dojos on this planet, and our children in our city challenge them with no second thoughts about it. But also part of our summer program, we also will be having a variety of sports ranging from soccer, tennis. Hold up, please. Give me 1 second. Okay, but to add to our Tai Chi, because we didn't want to make it where the children is just constantly doing the same routine or doing the same activity. So I partner with some volunteers, some very nice coaches, instructors and everything. And these activities will be consistent of Tai Chi, tennis, baseball, soccer, flag football, swimming. That will be with Mr. Henley from Parks and Recs, dance, gymnastics, construction, and I got a good friend who will also implement the horseback riding as well. All children will also have to participate in community cleanup as well, which is one of our top priorities while doing this, is to implement them and allow them to see the benefits that they could bring to the city of Harrisburg. We just have to provide those resources, because now all they look towards is football and basketball. And to be honest, I don't want to hear nothing about football and basketball anymore, because it's just boring and it's the same old thing every year. But we definitely want to provide them the resources so they could do something new. If we had a swimming team in which 13 level will have the swimming team, trust me, they would be on it. I was just training 5 kids at the Jackson Lynn pool, and they are ready. They are ready. They're ready. We just have to provide them the guidance with the swimming, provide them the guidance with the tennis, provide them the guidance with the soccer, because there's plenty of sports our kids could be in. Our kids could be in the Olympic, come from Harrisburg. It's in them already. It's in them all the way. But if anybody have any questions.
I just want to say thank you, because you're providing an outlet for the summer for the youth, and it's such a,
Yes, ma'am.
refreshing thing. I agree with you, football and baseball, basketball is not the only activity
Yes,
that
right.
exists in this city, so I just want to say thank you. Now, I do have a question, Art. What are the times that you have the children? Is it
Me and the Harrisburg Housing Authority, we had discussed we discussed 9 to 11, because we'll provide a breakfast, and the Housing Authority agreed to provide a lunch.
Oh.
So we thought that would be a good time, but it wouldn't be the same time for Emerald Park.
Okay, so what's the time for Emerald?
Emerald Park will most likely be from 6 to 8.
Okay, because you have your viewers looking at Channel 20, so this is a good time.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
inform
Yes,
them of what
yes.
times
We
are. Okay.
will be located in all the low-income neighborhoods,
Okay.
including Hillside. And Hillside is located next to 3 other low-income projects, so that's one class. But Hall Manor and Hoover Homes have their own community center, so we will be implementing classes at each
And
location.
the cost is $40. They're not able to,
It's
financially able to.
Okay, the low-income families, their fee is waived,
Okay.
but that's only for low-income families.
Okay.
Their fee is waived, and that actually was a bad idea because now we're having problems with compensating instructors because everybody's saying they're low income.
Exactly, I was going to say, everybody said they're
mean,
low, because you just said about, low income in uptown and out in the.
Yes. So that was something that I'll have to arrange with my board. We'll have to discuss something because that's affecting us compensating our staff. Because everybody's saying they're low income, and they're just lying, like they just pulling up in BMWs talking about low income.
Okay, thank you. Sure, go ahead.
I'll help them out. This is a great aspect.
I'll give you a couple minutes.
We were going to implement into the program for the low-income families, for them to do civic engagement and engage within the community for the parents. Instead, if they don't have the fee, then they can actually come and help out with the program to, I guess, to compensate for them not having the proper funds. If they don't have it, then they can come in and help out within the community with the program. And that could actually be a great asset.
Sure, compensate for their children being involved in activities during the summer, yes, keep them active.
And
Away
they
out of
also
mischief.
get them involved more.
Okay. Council members, any questions? Ms. Hodges?
I just have more of a statement. As a former Sulam Shwangfa Hung Ga Kung Fu student, I appreciate the service that you're offering to our youth. I think all forms of martial arts, especially the ones like Tai Chi, the ones who, because many people think, martial arts is violent, is negative, but like you said, you hit on a lot of the disciplines that we study. So thank you for offering that service to our students, and I will look forward to talking to you more about what I can do personally to help secure your program. So,
Mr. Alley?
Thank you very much. Thanks for your presentation.
Mr. Johnson?
Could you clarify the dates? Because you said
Yeah, you said
January.
You said January, this is June.
I'm so sorry. June and January. I'm sorry. We were supposed to be starting June the 19th, but it'll be delayed to June 26th.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Ms. Daniels?
No, thank you.
Mr. Majors?
Again, this is a great program, great thing for our youth. If anyone wanted to provide donations or outreach, is there a way that we can do
Yes.
that since?
Yes, we do have a GoFundMe account on our Facebook page. Our Facebook page is 13 Love Universal Program.
Okay. All right.
And that's also our Gmail as well.
Okay. All right. Yeah, great. Because I know when folks hear about this, I'm sure that you may get some additional folks that want to help. Like I said, Destiny said, and other folks will be wanting to provide some assistance, financial assistance to your program. So thank you for what you're doing for the kids in the city.
Mr. Baltimore?
Thank you for your commitment to youth development in the city. There's a lot of opportunities for your service, so appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey.
Thank you all very much.
Moving on to courtesy of the floor. I'd ask that you briefly come to the mic at this time. I'm starting at my right.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Council members. I'll be brief. In fact, I'll be like minute rights, 1 minute and done. But
You ain't never been like minute. Yeah.
but I can see that you're concerned about budgets, because I can see it, because those desks you're at are the same desks I sat at 47 years ago,
Tell me about it.
and they're still here. So I congratulate you. And they're anyway. I'm here tonight on behalf of our senior citizens at the Heinz Center.
Okay.
And this is a very important program. Not a lot of options for them. They don't decide when they get up in the morning, am I going to go to out to dinner or out to breakfast or whatever. They come there for their lunch, their breakfast, get the blood checkups, exercise. I mean, it's not all positive. They do cheat at cards, because I've been cheated sometimes. But they do enjoy it, and they don't do any skateboarding. They don't go to basketball courts. They don't go down to the river. That's the only option they have, and so we're very appreciative of that. And I hope when you do make your budget this year, consider them in the budget, and it's very much appreciated. May God bless you all.
Thank you. Anyone else to my right?
Les Ford, 2033 Bellevue. I am the director of the Heinz Center. I will try to be brief.
Mr. Ford.
You mentioned that I was, please.
You have so many people here, I'm sure I'd like to hear from them, too.
No, he's the only one.
He's the only one. You're giving me your time?
Of course.
2 minutes, Mr. Ford, because you can talk.
So let's work it like this.
Okay.
Everybody from the Heinz Center, please raise your hand.
Say, right.
That's too much. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Go ahead, Mr. Ford.
You mentioned that we're here early. Obviously, we have to be here early because there seems to be some problem understanding our situation and communicating our situation effectively. We went over this ground last year, the year before that, and I find myself having to go over the same ground again. I'm not particularly happy about it, but I used to be a teacher, and repetitio est mater studiorum. Repetition is the mother of learning. So obviously, I have to repeat this message in order to get people to understand what's going on. Let me use a couple of numbers. One number is 9,000, and the other number is 96. We delivered these people here, either personally or took responsibility for delivering 9,000 meals to people in the north end of Harrisburg last year. 9,000 meals.
That's good. That's good. That's good. You do a great job on those.
That's external of our facility. That is out to the neighborhood. That is service to the neighborhood. So when Stan talks about what goes on in those four walls, that's all well and good, but that's not the totality of what we are. Mm-hmm. Those people involved with Meals on Wheels, would you please now stand up?
Okay.
Harold, you help us unload the truck, et cetera, et cetera. So go on, stand up. Okay? These are some of the people. He's got a high-end walker, and he buzzes all of them down the street with that thing. The point being that, yes, we all know the Heinz Center provides a service to the membership, to seniors, but we provide a service to the community. So that's what I'm trying to emphasize tonight with that number of 9,000. There is no other senior organization that comes close to that in Dauphin County. I suspect there are not many that come close to that in the state of Pennsylvania, but these people are responsible for that. The other number is 96. Yesterday, it was 96 degrees outside, all right? It was a record for this time of the year. And I watched the young folks over in the playground across the street. They were out there in all of that heat, playing basketball, chasing each other for no discernible reason, but having a good time. Okay? So I admire youth programs. I've supported, my wife and I personally supported a judo camp over several summers here in the city. I support that. The mayor was recently seen jumping into a swimming pool to initiate the summer with the children. I appreciate that. We have basketball courts, we have tennis courts. I appreciate that. But these folks cannot be out in that heat. So how many places are there in Harrisburg where seniors can come in and get out of that heat in the summertime and have a warm place in the wintertime and, oh, by the way, get a meal? So it is a very vital part of our community. Every year I have to stand here and go through this. I don't mind it because I think it is that important. So I'm asking City Council to take a look at the proposal. And as someone in the administration told me, it's only a proposal. So I hope you will look at this proposal and understand very clearly that we have a de facto partnership here with the Heinz Center. We have the county and we have the city cooperating on an activity. If the city pulls its leg out, the county, in all probability, will see it as being an activity that perhaps should be reevaluated. It's being reevaluated in general. So I don't want the county to pull out. I don't want the city to pull out. I would speak of the state, but I'll save that for another time. So my point is, we've been here before. We're not going away. We're still here. We're still alive. We're still kicking. We still need the support of the city. We're learning a very important lesson in democracy. An administration and an executive can put forth a plan, but we have checks and balances. And it is the legislative function to exercise its responsibility relative to those checks and balances and ultimately put forth its power of the purse to effectuate those plans put forth by the administration. So I ask you to invite us back. We will be back, but we're old. We've got to go home now. So if you'll pardon us, as soon as we finish with the courtesy of the floor, we will leave, but we will be back. We are vigilant. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ford. And Mr. Ford, just to inform you, this is the first time that it goes on the agenda. We have not had an opportunity to see any of the distribution of the funds from the grant, so we will be looking at that.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi, Ms. President Wanda Williams. My name is Chris Sennick. Pleasure to see you all. So this past weekend, I saw something that really concerned me in relation to activism in several different manners at the Capitol steps here downtown. I feel like it's a constitutional issue that several people were not granted equal protection under the law between all of the police departments. We've had one person defamed in the media after being attacked by a police horse, and that has been a especially messy situation where we've had to put down $10,000 in bail for that. So we fundraised for that within a few days, so hopefully that goes over well. But also at the LGBTQIA Equality March, there was a bigot that came out in plain view of a Capital City police officer and harassed and intimidated the crowd and eventually assaulted a person who had to get treated. And the only thing that the Capital City Police did was go to the LGBT Center to say that he was going to try to charge this person with a felony robbery for trying to point at the sign that was presented by this bigot. So, and I feel like maybe the city can help out with balancing out who the police are protecting, and especially knowing that there was the Act for America hate group on the Capitol steps on Saturday, along with people that had armed weapons on the state capitol grounds, which is explicitly against Pennsylvania law. So I know that not all these police departments are in control, or under our jurisdiction here, but they operate in our city. So, and I don't want to see anybody that lives here get hurt. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sennick.
Good evening. Honorable Wanda, City Council. My name is Butts Lewis. I live at 612 Seneca. And as you can see, we have a lot of social issues that are very dynamic in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I'm here to ask for an executive title for the Camp Curtin District as a hollow ground district. Now, if we can make our Camp Curtin District a hollow ground district, it will bring more tourism dollars, it'll open up more grants, and we'll see why we're liberators. We'll see why we have a lot of energy here and a lot of different diversities on standing up for different things. I use the Heinz Center too. We have a fabulous time. I'm not that old yet, but I'm sure I'll get there. I'll be there eventually, and I have a good time there as we speak. So whatever we can do for where everybody is right now, including Christine, we all have a lot to stand up for each other's rights. And the Camp Curtin grounds, the reason why we won the Civil War is for freedom. There was a reason why, and it could state the landscape as well as set the standard for how we're supposed to treat each other. So if we can have a declaration for ourselves to state that the Camp Curtin, its bounds, are hallowed ground, we can add funds and we can get the church fixed. We can do things and we can open up a lot of different grants to educate our citizenry on how we're supposed to treat each other. And that is why I'm here, because we have the legacy and we're supposed to put forth and present ourselves as with a legacy. And I think that would have a good start, have a good beginning to uptown and economic development, as well as our own image. So if we can work on that and present it to the people as a template on how we're supposed to treat others and ourselves, it would be good for us. And that's the reason why I'm here. So I would appreciate it. I've been asking for several years. And if you do just this one thing, it'll have a big impact, not just for our city or state, but for the actual country. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Butts, is your name Lewis Butts or is it Butts Lewis? You said Butts Lewis, but that's okay. I just wanted to pick with you. That's all right. Thank you, Thank you. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else from my right that would like to come up and speak at the mic, please?
Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
And I'm here about Resolution 49.
Could you give us your name and
Oh, I'm
address, please,
sorry.
just for the record,
I'm so
please?
sorry.
That's
K.N. Wetzel, 1118 Hudson Street. I'm here about Resolution 49. As at the committee meeting, I did give everyone information, and I do hope that when you vote on this tonight, that you consider the desires of the neighborhood. I know they're not all here. My other vocal person with me had a death in the family, so she's not here. The other residents, quite frankly, have just said they're not going to listen to us. There's nothing we can do. So I'm here to urge you. I really hope you read our concerns. We do not think that three-story building from a non-city business, you are not in the city. There's almost 100 properties back in that area. And please don't put them at risk by letting this project go through. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wetzel. And for the record, Ms. Wetzel, we do hear you. We've been to several of the meetings with you. We've also have read your correspondence, so we have been listening to what your residents have been saying. Anyone else to my right? Anyone in the middle? Yes.
Hi, my name's Lakeisha Carrier. Hello to all y'all. Y'all seen me here several times. Some of you know me, some of you don't. My name's Lakeisha Carrier. I'm from Harrisburg. Born and raised here. I had my education here. I went to Harrisburg Academy when it was down here. No, Academy of Medical Arts and Business. I also attended Harrisburg University, where I attained both my bachelor's degree and a master's degree. My concern is that a lot of people are like me that actually go to college and come back and try to give back, and there's no way to get in. And I mean, for his jobs, helping out with the community, I have been with, did internships with CRAM. I did one with the program. I also worked as a TSS within the schools, so I often try to give back. But is there any way that we always say that we can't find the resources in Harrisburg. There's plenty of people like me that have degrees that can give back, but we have the option, we don't have the opportunity. So is there any way that y'all can post a website, even on a city site, any type of site, where we can list people that are in the community that can volunteer with their credentials to help out some of these programs?
It's a good idea.
So that's what I wanted to say.
So currently, Ms. Carey, so currently we do, and this is actually a new phenomenon that was just introduced probably about, say, a month and a half ago. So we have a community calendar, and we also have a community resource page. So people who are willing to provide, whether the community calendar could be good if you're running like a summer program or different events going on in the city. You can post that on there. It's a place where you can click submit event, or if you have a particular community resource, you can also submit that on there to kind of centralize information. I know, just speaking as a resident myself, you know, it's really, really hard to kind of get information in the city. You know, things are not spread over radio. People are used to hearing things over the radio. And right now, I feel like the main form of communication that people get is through Facebook, but that's only if you're connected to certain people or groups.
Yeah.
So there is an information gap to it. So we tried to, from the city's end, to kind of centralize information to a one-stop shop where if you visit the site, you want to know what's going on in the city this weekend, or if you have a different community resource, whether that's for seniors, youth, homeless. So it's a growing thing that people are constantly, we're trying to get the word out to get people to post on there to kind of make that be that central hub. And I'll also recommend trying to tap into like already established you know, centers. Like, you know, I volunteer with Teen Achievers through Camp Curtin YMCA, Boys and Girls Club. So there's always different people, always different organizations looking for people just to give their time. So whatever one kind of fits with your background, or, you know, I think, you know, not speaking for Jamian at the Y, but he's always open for people who may be able to bring a new program or new initiative to kind of bring to our kids, because I know they're doing like lacrosse up there now. Just a lot of different things. They do chess, you know, so different out the box things that's away from like, you know, your standard football and basketball.
Okay, so where did you say that site was?
It's on our city website, so I would go to our city website and probably press search and then type in.
Yeah, I went on your calendar. It wasn't nothing listed here, so that was pretty weird.
Yeah, and our website, it takes a little bit to navigate through. So like if you go there and you go to the bottom of the page, you'll see like a calendar that posts like our meetings. But I think you have to, if you press search and type in community calendar, it'll take you to a different place where there's an actual community calendar. So it's not reflected on meetings and different things. It's strictly to like events and different activities. And like I said, it's newer. So I wouldn't expect to see a whole bunch of things on there right now, because we're trying to get organizations aware of it to kind of use that as a place to drop information and drop events. But, you know, if you can help spread the word about that, and people listen on Channel 20, you know, could kind of get that out as well.
All right.
Thank you. Anyone else in the middle? Anyone to my left?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Council. I just want to bring a FYI to the community and to Council about a few things.
Could you state your name? Sorry, for the record.
Rafika Muhammad, Harrisburg, PA, resident native. On July 1st in Gaza, a nonprofit organization that's been in the community now for a little over 30 years, is doing a program called Trail of Tears. We are sharing that with the community. Our community is going through so much ups and downs, grief, tragedy, et cetera, just a place to come. Get a chance to know people, get a chance to know each other. We're asking people to wear white. And we wanted to do some type of release, helping just to release through our grief, our stress, etc. We will be doing a drum processional around the City Island perimeters, and we will be meeting at 11:30 a.m. At the beach site. To say this, we wanted to release something within the river. And I did a lot of research because I do see in a community when we have certain organizations and events and activities, people do all different types of releases. So coming from my sustainability efforts and environmental research, just to be aware of what we are releasing in our community. So by we looking at the river, I did get in touch along with a friend of mine, the environmental protection, and what we can release is any type of flower long as it's not tropical. So the question came to some people that, well, why not tropical? We have to understand when we release things in an environment, they could become an invasive species. So I kind of understood that when they said not tropical. So I just wanted to share that information with people when we're having these activities and we're releasing things in our environment. Please do your research. Balloons are illegal. When they, not when they're flying, but when they burst or the air goes out of them, some of the animals and wildlife, particularly our birds, think that they are worms and food, and they consume them and they choke and die. So I'm just asking our community as we grow, look, and get to know each other, how we got to take care of our community, our little place right here in Harrisburg. We can do so much because we are attached to the river, our mountains, we're so close. The next thing I wanted to share with you also about releasing was we have to be mindful as well, and I know I'm going to get some flack about that, but a lot of us use Roundup. A lot of us grow food in our backyards. There's other ways that we can kill our so-called weeds, and weeds are just plants that we don't want them in a certain place. That's all they are. So I really need some people to consider that because a very close friend of mine is now dying of cancer, and she really feels that her neighbors on the sides of her killing things is dealing with Roundup or chemicals of that nature. Not starting a debate, but I just want us to think a little bit of how we take care of our grounds and lands in Harrisburg. So that's all I wanted to share with y'all this evening. Thank you.
You said you had the City Island Drummers at 11:30. What day is that?
I'm sorry, July 1st. And we will start at 11:30 a.m. to assemble, and the program itself will start at 12.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else to my left? Okay, thank you. Moving on to approve of, I'm sorry. Pardon me? Oh, sure. I'm sorry. You did say you wanted to leave. Okay. Okay, thank you. Moving on to approval of minutes. Approval of the legislative session minutes of May 23rd, 2017. Council members, are there any corrections, deletions, or omissions? Hearing none, minutes will stand as approved. Moving on to reports of committees. Report from Chair Majors on the work session of June 6, 2017. Mr. Majors, are you ready with your report?
Yes, Council President. On June 6th, we held a meeting of a work session with the Public Works Committee. We met to consider Resolution 46, a resolution approving a professional service contract with Urban Engineers, Inc. to approve the construction management and inspection services for the 3rd Street Multimodal Project. The city engineer, Wayne Martin, along with members of Urban Engineers, Inc., it's a company that is listed for the contract, met to discuss the project. We asked them several questions on the project. There's a not-to-exceed amount on the project listed at $358,171.29. Questions that asked were definitely concerning their minority participation, as well as a length of time to approve the project. For the project, their DBE subcontractor is 8% of the project, but the overall multimodal project has a 30% DBE participation rate, minority and women business participation rate, according to the city engineer. And after listening to their proposal and doing the contract, I asked that my members consider voting in the positive on Resolution 46. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Majors. Moving on to report from Chair Baltimore on the work session of June 6, 2017. Mr. Baltimore, are you ready with your report?
Yes, Madam President. We too met on June 6th to discuss Resolution 49. It's a resolution approving preliminary final land development plan submitted by Jody Smiley to construct a 3-story multifamily dwelling at 1100 South 20th in Harrisburg, and the project is to provide affordable housing units to seniors. We had a presentation by the contractor, the organization that is planning to build the facility. They showed us what the project will look like. They gave us an idea of how it will enhance the neighborhood. We also had comments and concerns from the citizens of the area who are in opposition. So I encourage my council members to vote their conscience on this. I think it's a worthy project, but it's also a perceived infringement on the neighborhood. So I would encourage council members to vote on their own conscience. I'm not advocating that they vote in the affirmative or negative.
Thank you, Mr. Baltimore. Moving on to ordinance of first reading, Bill 7, 2017. Ms. Houston, would you read that into record, please?
Yes. The bill was moved by Mr. Baltimore and seconded by Ms. Williams. Bill 7-2017 is an ordinance appropriating Home Investment Partnership Program HOME funds from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for fiscal year 2017 and authorizing expenditure of such funds.
That would be placed in Community and Economic Development Committee. Moving on to Bill 8 of 2017.
Yes, this was moved by Mr. Baltimore and seconded by Ms. Williams. Bill 8-2017, an ordinance appropriating community development block grant funds from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for fiscal year 2017 and authorizing expenditure of such funds.
That also will be placed in Community and Economic Development. Bill 9 of 2017.
Yes. This was moved by Mr. Baltimore and seconded by Ms. Williams. Bill 9-2017 is an ordinance appropriating emergency solutions grant program funds from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for fiscal year 2017 and authorizing expenditure of such funds.
That also will be placed in Community and Economic Development. Moving on to ordinance for amendment, we have none. Moving on for ordinance for final passage, we have none. Moving on to resolutions. Resolution 46 of 2017.
This was moved by Mr. Majors and seconded by Ms. Williams. Resolution 46-20 is a resolution approving a professional services contract with Urban Engineers Incorporated to provide construction management and inspection services for the 3rd Street Multimodal Project.
Council members, any questions or comments on that resolution? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Vote passes.
Moving on to
Unanimous.
Resolution 49, 2017.
This was moved by Mr. Baltimore and seconded by Ms. Daniels. Resolution 49-2017 is a resolution approving the preliminary final land development plan submitted by Jody Smiley to construct a 3-story multifamily dwelling at 1100 South 20th Street, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, to provide affordable rental housing to seniors.
Council members, any questions or comments at this time?
I just have one comment.
Mr. Allett?
Thank you.
I have to admit that I actually do struggle with this particular resolution, not because of any legal reason. I think that it should not move forward, but it is our job to hear the residents of the neighborhood, and my concern is not so much in the legality or any of the things happening, but in neighborhoods where neighbors aren't able to agree on what exists in their neighborhood. That is of great concern to me, and I think that going forward with this project, I do recommend, and unfortunately we on council we're not neighborhood arbitrators, but I do recommend that that there is continued dialogue, conversation, and things that concur with the neighborhood to ensure that there can be a successful working relationship between them. I've taken great care to hear what the residents have had to say. I have been out in the neighborhood. I've looked through windows and looked at it, and as a homeowner, I would be concerned. And I think it's going to be very important for the success of the project going forward to have that neighborhood support and that continued dialogue.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please, pardon me.
I have a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this was a tough one for me as well. I think there's definitely a balance of rights of property owners on both sides, the rights of the people who own homes on Hudson Street and surrounding neighborhoods, but also the rights of property owners who own land, and the ordinance that are set by the city of Harrisburg to be able to do what you like and what you wish with your lands as long as they fit within the ordinance. I think it's up to us as a council to weigh the options as far as making sure that people are in compliance with our ordinances and people's property rights are respected. There are many cases out there where municipalities face these decisions, and sometimes these decisions are not based upon preference. We have a lot of preferences, what we may or may not like, that may be in our neighborhood, but then there's also things that consist within the law of defining, even though we may not like it or we may not agree with it, is it allowable by law? I think that's what we as a council have to decide on today.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
I could say something too.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, our decisions as legislators are whether, the plans as proposed were complied with the legal requirements that the city imposes on property owners. And so on the side of the legal questions, right, these individuals, this entity, invested resources to make sure that whatever it is that they're doing and developing complies with what the city expects of property owners. And I think a vote to oppose it kind of creates an environment where people who are willing to invest in the city would be a little bit more cautious about what they're going to do. But then there's also the other social side of it. Harrisburg has been losing population since I've moved here all but 1 of the years. And in the last few years, the loss of population has been even greater. And perhaps because I socialize with older people, I can tell you that over the last 4 years, the lack of affordable housing in the city for seniors has meant that most of my friends no longer live in the city. And that has taken out not just them as people who occupy spaces, as you know, blight and vacancy is a problem in the city, but also it means that social time doesn't happen in the city, and those funds and that economic activity doesn't happen in the city anymore for a large portion of the older people who once used to live in the city. So, on a social side, this might be inconvenient. People will have to, have blinds in their windows and wait for the trees to grow to their rightful heights and whatever. But as a city, we just can't continue to lose population if we plan to grow or sustain ourselves or even maintain the services we provide to the residents. And we can't afford to keep losing the economic activity that is happening. And we want the people who were born and raised in Harrisburg to be able to live in community once they age. And those are opportunities that as a city we should try our best to allow people to have, rather than have to leave their community once they age and live in isolation in some other place where they can afford housing but not necessarily have community.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels. Anyone else before I call the vote? Please
Yeah, I
call
might
the
as well
vote. Oh, sorry, Mr. Baltimore.
I tend to agree with my colleagues here. I think it's a struggle for me to balance economic development with neighborhood makeup, chemistry. But you're right, Councilman Daniels, in that we can't place barriers for development. We can't lose population. And we do have to find ways as neighbors to get along one another in different communities. And I think there are some positive potential things that could happen with this project going forward. But I just want everyone to know that this is a struggle for the entire council, not just me. It's a tough balance, but I think we'll make the right decision tonight.
Okay. Ms. Houston, please call the vote.
Yes. Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
The bill passes.
Thank you.
Or the resolution, excuse me.
Moving on to Resolution 51, 2017.
Yes, this was moved by Mr. Johnson, and it was seconded by Mr. Allett. Resolution 51-2017, a resolution approving an agreement with Yarnell Security Systems for installation of servicing of a video security system at Reservoir Park.
That will be placed in Public Safety Committee. Moving on to Resolution 52.
Yes, this was moved by Ms. Hodges and seconded by Ms. Williams. Resolution 52-2017, a resolution ratifying the submission of grant application to DCED for the purpose of funding the purchase and installation of playground equipment as part of the Reservoir Park Rehabilitation Project.
Questions or comments on Resolution 52? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes. Moving on to Resolution 53.
Yes, resolution was moved by Mr. Majors and seconded by Ms. Williams. And Resolution 53-2017, a resolution approving a professional service agreement with the RO Consulting Incorporated to perform engineering services for improvements to the intersection at Berry Hill and Cameron Streets and other street improvements in the city.
Will be placed in Public Works Committee. Moving on to Resolution 54.
This was moved by Mr. Johnson, seconded by Mr. Allett. Resolution 54-2017, a resolution approving a local share municipal grant agreement with Dauphin County for receipt of funds under the Pennsylvania Gaming Act for renovations to Fire Station Number 1 and Number 2.
May I have a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Our chief,
Come on down.
we have our chief, Enterline. He's going to give us a little background on Resolution 54.
Good evening. Resolution 54 of 2017 is simply an administrative thing to accept the money that council had approved application for back last year. I believe it was probably October or November. That was awarded by the Gaming Advisory Board in the amount of $250,000 for renovations to Fire Station 1 and 2. More specifically, potential roof replacement as well as renovations to the bunk rooms to make them more efficient, if you will.
Okay. And Chief, just let me just say to the public who may be viewing this, Channel 20, it's good to make sure that they understand why we are going ahead with approving a item that was placed on the agenda that was not put in committee. So that's why I wanted you to come up and give it the background of what Resolution 54 was.
Yep, very good. Yeah, and it was, again, it's it's received from the county in a short term
Sure.
that we have to turn around, and it requires a councilmatic resolution
Okay.
to send back.
And because we didn't have a committee meeting on that particular resolution, just give it an overview, and then that, in fact, would satisfy the residents, because they're looking at this Channel 20 and like, okay, well, what is this for? So they probably didn't see because we don't, tape the committee meetings. So this way, it gives them an idea of what Resolution 54 is. It identifies Okay,
Very good.
thank you. Any questions, council members, before we vote? Hearing none. Thank you, Chief, again. And thank you for waiting.
You're welcome.
Please call the vote.
Do we need to go back in session?
Oh, I'm sorry, we do. Give me a motion to go back in session.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Now, any questions or comments on Resolution 54, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Hodges?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes,
Resolution 54 passes.
thank you. Moving on to Resolution 55.
Yes, this was moved by Mr. Johnson and second by Mr. Allett. Resolution 55-2017, a resolution approving a professional service agreement with the Traffic Planning and Design to update traffic signal and school zone permit plans at various locations in the city.
That will be placed in Public Safety Committee. Moving on to Resolution 56.
This was moved by Ms. Williams and second by Mr. Allett. Resolution 56-2017, a resolution approving a Comcast business service agreement for internet and phone services at the Reservoir Park Mansion.
And that will be placed in Administration Committee. Moving on to old business, council members. Anyone have any old business?
Yep. I do.
Mr. Majors?
I guess for the administration, and I'll continue to ask this question. I asked it the last time, but any update on the comprehensive plan status?
The last week, there was a meeting of the Planning Commission. They have a special session tomorrow night, which they expect to be very, very brief, in which they had a subcommittee come up with a timetable and a plan for how they are going to address their responsibilities. They have not shared the full proposal at this point, but I believe what they're going to do is ask for, make some recommendations following the council meeting, that perhaps some technical services budget be added for the remainder of the plan. They are going to have, I understand, some subcommittees to meet on the various aspects of the plan for review, and I think they'll have a more further announcement when they do it tomorrow night. But they have not shared the calendar as of yet that they are considering.
Okay, so then this will, I guess, in all likelihood, extend out the initial timeline that Jeff Knight provided us.
It was my understanding from the commission last week that they expected it might add 2 months to the timeline.
Okay, all right, thank you.
That proposal, should be noted, is not coming from the administration. That's going to the planning.
Well, we know that, sir. I was just asking a question, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other old business? Mr. Allett?
Just a question too on the Third Street project. I know we just approved the portion for urban engineers, but is there a timeline of when that will begin? Are these plans online or anything at this point?
I believe the plans are 80% complete. I have seen those. I don't think those are online yet, and I believe the plan is to have the project start this fall.
This fall. And what's the duration of the project?
It would conclude next year, and it is a larger project than even conceived originally, because it includes a lot of green infrastructure, cooperation, coordination with Capital Region 1, which has made the project take longer, but should result in a really wonderful job complete.
Can I just make a request once we know more definitively?
Start date?
And timeline, things like that, that we can either put that out on the website or kind of put that out to the public. I get hundreds of questions, largely from one neighbor across the street from me on 3rd Street, but from a lot of people in the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Any other old business, council members?
Yeah, I just kind of want to have a Pollyanna moment because and kind of encourage residents in the city of Harrisburg to really become engaged in the laws and the processes of our city. When the proposal that we just voted on came forward, there was absolutely no requirement that adjacent properties be notified of these changes, right? And as council, we were not aware of that. So when both the members of the neighborhood came and the developers came, both upset at each other, that was an opportunity where we realized that as council we had a role in how that communication happened. And after the initial plan fell through, we had the opportunity, we created that requirement so that when they began again, they were required to notify the neighbors. And I think in that conversation, some of the plans of the entity change. The neighbors were allowed the opportunity to talk to the developers, knew what was going on. So I think this is a good moment for everyone, the residents. If you guys hadn't come and complained, we would have never really picked up on the fact that there was no obligation. But also, kudos to council that we were able to help facilitate that communication later on, and also to the entity for being open to those conversations with the neighbors. So I think this is a really good moment for government in the city. That's it.
Okay, all right. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Are we on older new?
Okay, moving on to new business. Mr. Johnson first, okay.
So it could have been older news, but I really want to talk about the pools. I was able to go up there today, spend some time after work. I like pools, I swim. But I was able to talk to some of the lifeguards, some people who attend the pools. I guess the pool manager just got different thoughts and insights. I think there's certain things that I would hope the administration can consider as far as some of the regulations that we have in place. Basically, currently, kids 12 and older are able to attend the pools by themselves with no supervision. I did a lot of research on comparison of other local pools as well about age requirements where no supervision is needed. I feel like we should raise that age, even if it's to 13 or 14. I think it has it gives more of a level of responsibility, and maybe even probably decreases some of maybe our liability, even though we're self-insured. But I think that's something that we should possibly consider. And sharing that information with different people at the pools, they also agree. I think there was a lot of complaints in the community in regards to a lot of kids being at the pools too young, unsupervised. The second thing that currently goes on at our pools as well is currently you have to be 16 years old to be able to supervise someone else. I feel like that's a little bit too young as well. Ideally, I probably want that to be 18 years old. A lot of times what I'm hearing from the pools is a lot of people treat our pools as a babysitting service. Mm-hmm. So they'll come to the pools with a group of 5 or 6 kids. They can be as young as 16 with our current regulation. Sign them in, spend 10 minutes with them, step out and maybe go on for 2 or 3 hours, then come back and to maybe come pick them up. So if incidents were to occur or things were to go on, these kids are left at the pool unsupervised. I think that age should be raised from 16 to 18, and I also think we should come up with some type of sign-in form. Basically, if you are bringing kids into the pool, you should be able to say your name, write down the names of the kids you're bringing in, and contact information. Just in case incidents were to happen and someone was to leave, we'll be able to kind of contact that person and say, you left your kids here unsupervised at the pool. This is not allowed. We cannot allow it. It provides a sense of security. I know talking with a couple of lifeguards, they see kids and sometimes they'll come up to the lifeguards saying, hey, someone left me here. I'm thirsty or hungry. I'm ready to go home, or whatever the case may be. So I think we should have some type of form if people are bringing people, younger people to the pools. I also would like to see, I'm sorry I feel like I'm coming with this whole list of demands, but I think it will help improve our pools a lot. I also would like to see incorporated at both pools is the inclusion of security cameras. I think it helps for a sense of bettering our security, especially if fights or any type of drug activities occur at our pools. We'd be able to have cameras to identify, who these people are. And, I'm not necessarily trying to link that to see people get charged, but if people are bringing a bad atmosphere to our pools, they should face the consequences of possibly being banned from our pools and having to come back with a parent for possible reentry. We can't allow the actions of just a few kids to ruin it for 80 to 100 kids who are having a good time at the pools. And a lot of times, the incident that occurs are really from, 2 to 3 people stemming from a social media argument and then turn into a massive riot. So that really kind of concludes my ask that we can kind of explore those different options as far as rules and regulations for the pool. I was there today. There were no incidents. Kids were having a good time. So there is, I think some people are aware that there was an incident at the pool yesterday, and then I think it kind of spread throughout, social media and kind of brought like a negative connotation to our pools, where it was basically an environment that wasn't inviting for kids, and I think that doesn't tell the whole story. I think there's room for improvement, but I think, we had a pretty good or successful pool season last year where kids come out and play and enjoy themselves, and I'm expecting that same type of results this year. There's always room to kind of improve in ways that we can kind of make sure that we are providing a safe, secure environment for our kids during the summertime.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Anyone else with new business?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
We want to schedule a community and economic development meeting for the 20th of June to discuss ESG, CDBG, and home funds.
Is that the workshop?
Is that our work
Work
session?
session.
Work session.
That's our work session. Okay.
And I concur with 99% of what Mr. Johnson says about the pools.
Okay.
Have a reservation on the 13-year-old coming with his mom, though, but that's the only one. That's the only one.
That was mine.
Well,
He could come by himself. I say 13.
13.
I said 12. What about 12?
Okay, 12. I wouldn't want my mom with me at the pool at 12.
Mr. Majors?
I guess just a couple quick announcements, since we're not going to have another session before this event. On Wednesday, June 21st, the junior entrepreneurs are going to be having a market day up at Harrisburg High School from 11 to 1 p.m. It's an event that's encouraging our youth to look at becoming, entrepreneurs and business owners. So that's definitely an event that I wanted to promote and let the folks in the city know. Additionally, it's not happening in the city, but it is highlighting a couple of our young people in the city. The Big 33 is at Landis Field on Saturday. We have 2 players from the Harrisburg football team, Joel Davis and Damian Barber, as well as a cheerleader, Kendra Tate, that is going to be participating. Again, we mentioned it earlier during the communications, but if anyone has any programs or community resources, the city website where you can post those events to is harrisburgpa.gov/community-calendar. You can submit any event that you have, so that could be used as one of many resources to allow folks in our city to know what is going on for residents throughout the city of Harrisburg. So thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Majors. Mr. Johnson?
Sorry, I got something else to say. Currently, too, and the reason why I want to say it because I think it's important. As summer's starting up, I know just personally, I've seen on social media that we are seeing fights pop up where people are being, I guess the street slang is more swooped or jumped or whatever you may occur, which is no child should ever have to experience what we are currently seeing on social media. And I really, really, really want to use that as a segue to encourage, for one, parents or guardians or different leaders to talk to kids about the actions they're taking. A lot of times it comes with one person having a beef with another person and then friends following, and sometimes friends don't know what they're getting into, and there's consequences that come with that when you're involving yourself with that type of activity. Whether it could be fines, it could be jail, it could be a lot of things that young kids should not be subject to. But it's also important that parents and guardians and leaders are encouraging these kids to get enrolled into summer programming. A lot of the talk, a lot of times when you talk to different people, people always first will say there's nothing to do for the kids. I, for one, am not of that belief. I know just recently I posted 10 free programs that are currently going on. All are very unique, ranging from a heat camp where people can learn about OSHA standards and heavy equipment to a cheerleading camp that's currently going on at the high school, which we had 70 girls at. The YMCA has opened their doors for free for anyone of the age of 13 and up throughout the summer with a free membership. So there shouldn't, I'm not going for any excuses of people saying there's nothing to do for their kids. If you need help finding a program for your kids, you can contact me, and I will, spend the time and the energy to help enroll your kid into some type of program. But we should all do our responsibility, and even as we see kids, ask them what they're doing for the summertime, making sure they're involved, because when they're not involved, we see these things happening on our streets, and we all know that it can cause some serious consequences. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I only have a couple announcements. For the month of June, every Friday at 8:30 p.m., Fort Hunter will be having, showing movies, youth movies for children. There's no fee assessed to it, and they encourage everyone to come up and lay on the blanket and look at some of the movies that they have to offer. Also, recently, a couple residents were a little concerned about asking for barriers to block off their streets for block parties. City of Harrisburg had said that we were charging a fee of $150 or $300. So let me assure the residents of the City of Harrisburg that there will be no fee assessed to having block parties when they put the barriers up for the blockage of those streets. So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of that, because recently I've got several calls regarding that. But now next year, we will be looking at assessing a fee for the usage of our barriers, because we are losing quite a few of them when we block off the streets for the parties. So January 1st of next year, we will be assessing a fee. But this summer, we will not be assessing any type of fee for block parties. So I just want to make sure that the community is aware of that. And I encourage everyone to please go to the Fort Hunters, take your kids up. It is really exciting. The kids have fun. And it's free, take your popcorn and everything else. Anything else? Okay.
Just, I guess, one note. And we know that I just wanted to note that drove by Reservoir Park and noted that the courts that were, the glass that was broken has been fixed. So those courts up at Reservoir Park, that was the court that was dedicated to Des maintenance that Chris Franklin from the Harlem Globetrotters dedicated to a great youth mentor and athletic legend in the city of Harrisburg. The court has been restored, and we're going to ask that community residents, as well as any folks and kids that use the court, continue to try to maintain that court, and as well as continue to keep clean the court with all the trash and debris that sometimes does build up, so that we can have another shining gem in the city of Harrisburg and a facility that our students and kids can use throughout the summer and hopefully for generations to come.
Thank you. Anything else? I see we have a visitor in the audience. We have a Boy Scout here. Would you like to come up and just tell us who you are, where you're from, what troop you're in? And I think it's wonderful that they come to city council meetings to...
Civics badge.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Nick Treadwell. I'm here working on my communications merit badge. I've come to attend this meeting to hear all of your opinions on different matters, to get an idea of how things like this work.
Okay. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you, too.
Appreciate you coming this evening. Anything else? Any other new business?
Yeah, I'd like to ask him, what rank are you at?
I'm a second-class Boy Scout. Next week, I'll be going to summer camp.
Okay.
Hidden Valley?
Nick, can you come to the mic, please? Let us hear.
I'm sorry, no, I'm done.
No, come to the, come to the mic, please, because maybe the viewers want to hear what Mr. Baltimore is asking.
I am going to Camp Rodney in Northeast Maryland. It's a very aquatic camp. Lots of things to do there. A lot of my friends are taking merit badges that involve boating and jet ski. Unfortunately, I'm not old enough yet.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
And I hope that you enjoyed this session. Okay. Here now the new business. I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Meeting's adjourned.